Subhanallah, with Abu Yazid. And Abu Yazid, some of you may not know, is a revert to Islam. He was a host on ABN's Jesus or Muhammad. He was a co-host of David Wood. He was heavily involved in apologetics. And now, subhanallah, he is back as a Muslim. And please take us through your journey.
I was raised in a Christian home, a Christian background, but the particular creed of that religion that I was brought up in, I did question it. If I'm to believe these things, and there seems to be contradictions between these various doctrines, especially when it comes to the very nature of God, there's seemingly internal contradictions. They have to be reconciled. And so far in my life, I've come to understand these internal contradictions cannot be reconciled. Meaning, don't understand the Trinity, you don't understand the doctrine, how it actually works, and you don't understand how these contradictions could be reconciled with each other, and you just believe it anyway, or you have to reject it. I chose to reject it. So I studied every religion, every particular faith that I could look in it, go to a library, find a book about, or go online and look, or buy something at the bookstore. From Taoism to Buddhism to African indigenous religions to whatever you can basically think of and name, every facet, denomination, and sect of Christianity, and it finally boiled down to Islam.
Abu Yazid, I'd like to move on to something you mentioned previously. In passing, you said, before I became a Christian. So let's take the audience through that. So you're a Muslim for how long?
I was a Muslim up until 2011.
A decade?
Almost a decade.
Okay, so you're a Muslim for a decade, and then you became a Christian.
That is correct.
Please expand on that.
Well, I think people who leave the deen, everyone has their own story, but I think there's certain things that they all have in common. One is the shubuhat, the doubts. For me, the doubt was more concentrated on the issue of salvation, because I began to really question about what's going to happen to me when I leave this earth, and I face the judgment. Am I going to heaven? I'm going to hell. And one of the chief doubts that Christian polemics use against Islam is, well, you guys don't have any guarantee of salvation. You don't know what's going to happen. Okay, you're a great Muslim, you're a good person, but has Allah guaranteed that you're not going into the hellfire and going into Jannah? So these are common occurrences, and they can cause doubt in the individual. Especially, doubt gives way to doubt. So if there's a small piece of doubt in the heart, I can feed that, and it can grow bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's one aspect of what happened to me.
Okay. What really interests me is how you went from just being a conservative Christian to then being a host on ABN's Jesus or Muhammad. How did that happen?
Well, I sent an email to ABN after I became Christian, and basically saying I've been watching Jesus and Muhammad. I've been watching David Wood and Sam Shimon, and I wanted you guys to know that I've left Islam and I've become Christian. Somebody from the network passed it along to David Wood. David Wood jumped on that immediately, and he invited me onto the show. And once he invited me onto the show, I did it, and they were like, "Do you want to stay for another show? Do you want to stay around?" Sure, I'll stay around. And me staying around turned into me becoming regular on Jesus Muhammad.
So how big of a deal was Jesus or Muhammad? How big of a success was it?
I think for all the things I just said, it was successful. It did what it was supposed to do. It took something that was strictly academic to a certain level, where the average person didn't know what Islam was, and they didn't really care in America. Muhammad Ali was Muslim. That's what the average person in America knew. But after 9/11, there became a hunger for people wanting to know what Islam was about. People were setting up debates across the nation and traveling from church to church. People, made a whole entire career of just going across the nation, giving lectures about jihad, to the point certain individuals even got government contracts, get money from the government to lecture, the FBI about jihad and things like this. So yeah, people parlay that into a money-making venture. Most of these guys have no education whatsoever in anything related. Well, first of all, they have no education as far as anything related to Islam, But even as far as Christianity, most of these guys don't have any, degrees in religious studies or theology or anything like that. They're basically self-taught. A lot of it is Google taught, to be honest.
SubhanAllah. So what happened to you next? What happened after that? I'm talking about the show.
Yeah. Well, as early as maybe like 2013, I really began to slow down. I really wasn't interested in doing public appearances or doing a lot of debating or things like that.
So that's 2 years. That's 2 years after you left Islam, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't have the desire to be quote unquote famous. I didn't want to be a YouTube. I didn't have the desire to be a social media influencer. I didn't have the desire to make money off of religion. So,
but you were going to. That was offered to you. You were offered the opportunity to be the face of the ex-Muslim community, if you call that.
Yeah. I've said this in another interview. There's always every year or two or three, there's always some new ex-Muslim who is the hot new ex-Muslim.
Right.
And I had the opportunity to be the hot new ex-Muslim. And if I took that opportunity, yeah, I would have had notoriety, I would have had fame, and I would have made some money. I even thought about converting to Judaism, and I explored that. And I sat and watched a video of a rabbi, and the rabbi was talking about the Noahic laws. So from that standpoint, from an Orthodox Jewish standpoint, Muslims have salvation. But guess who doesn't have salvation?
Christians.
Christians do not have salvation.
في القلب مشاعر أخفيها قد أشرقت الشمس عليها عن خطط لم أعبأ فيها ستكون بأيامي فرقا فحياتي قبل